Anthony's busy right now. Hello, everybody. Please silence your phones. And again, I will repeat that this PowerPoint will be placed up on the website under committees, under safety, security, and wellness. And today is very special because we have our fabulous trainers, Anthony, Min, Josh, and Carlos. And they're going to talk about understanding basic exercise theories. Sounds very impressive.
I love. Check. All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Anthony. This presentation has kind of been in the works for, I don't know, maybe about a year and a half now, but because of staff changes, it kept getting pushed back, but we have finally landed on the perfect staff. So we are put together a nice presentation for you guys. I feel like when I look around, most of the people come to the fitness center in some capacity, but for those of you that don't, Anthony, Carlos, Min, and Josh. All right, so today's presentation is basically just going to cover, we wanted to give you guys an idea. We say a lot of things when we're exercising with you all, hey, slow down your repetitions. Today we're going to do 15 reps instead of 10. But we realize, and I realized this when I was working with Bernie, he always is asking me why. Where a lot of people don't do that. A lot of people don't ask why. So it kind of brought the idea, and it was his idea, to have a presentation, because I'm sure some of you are wondering that, or maybe you don't care, but some of you might be wondering it. And we figured we'd take today to explain a lot of the why do we say a lot of the things that we say. So I'm gonna first start out with covering balance. I still think it is the most important factor. You can be strong, you can be flexible, but if you are not balanced and you're at risk of falling, all of that really doesn't mean anything. When we're getting towards these, in our 70s, 80s, and really, even in your 60s, we really need to start tailoring our focus towards balance-based exercises. And a lot of the strength, the things that we're going to do today, they go into that, but there still needs to be a direct attention to balance. So we'll cover balance. I am going to do a brief discussion on falling, which we have covered. I think that was 2 presentations ago. How is balance achieved? We're going to cover what are the components of fitness, understanding the why behind your trainer's cues, proper technique to achieve maximum efficiency when exercising, programming, and how best to develop a routine. All right, the power of balance. So what is balance, right? It's not just when I tell you to stand on one foot. There is some science behind it. So balance is how we control the body's center of mass with respect to the base of support, right? So if my base of support is here, I want my center of mass to be over top of it. I'm not going to be balanced if my base of support is over here. Does that make sense? So when standing upright, our primary goal is to maintain the center of mass within our base of support. When we are walking, we are continuously moving the center of mass beyond the base of support and then reestablishing underneath. So when we walk, we don't walk like this. We walk with the body in motion and the legs file underneath. How is balance achieved? Balance is achieved and maintained by a set of sensory motor systems that get input from vision, which is impacted as we get older. Proprioception, which would be our touch, and that happens a lot in your joints, so that is affected by arthritis. And vestibular system, motion, equilibrium, spatial orientation, that'd be inner ear. Ears are affected as we go through this process. All of those, as we get older, deteriorate, which is why we become a higher risk of falling. It is the integration of that sensory input and motor output to the eye and body muscles that allow you to maintain your balance. Right, so this is getting a little scientific, but I tried to keep it simple. So how does it work? We have the sensors, the brain, the muscles all work together, right? So we get input from the eyes, input from the muscles and joints, and input from that vestibular system. Okay, so let's speak specifically to the vestibular system, which is inner ear, right? So if I'm like this, my vestibular system is telling my brain where I'm leaning. So my brain is giving feedback to my muscles to help me adjust and allow me to do what I'm doing. If my vestibular system was not sending those signals, I would just fall on the ground because I wouldn't be counterbalancing it with another movement. All right, so we get all of those three, it is only those three areas that allow us to have balance. So for a lot of you work with us in a session, and if we're doing a balance exercise and we ask you to close your eyes, how much more difficult does that exercise become? Because you fully removed input to the brain. So now you're only operating off the two. So the theory behind there is if we're telling you to remove that system, we're trying to strengthen the other systems. Okay? These are just some exercises that you would have done with us. These are exercises that you can practice in your condo. You know, it doesn't take a 30-minute session to do this. This is something that if all of you took 5 minutes a day and you practice, this would be your easiest exercise. And this would be challenging for someone that doesn't have good balance. Shrinking the base of support would make it harder. If that is easy for you, you'd go into a semi-tandem balance. The progression to that would be a full tandem. And the progression to that would be single leg. If you spent, most of you can do these too, right? Majority of you can do that. If you can spend 5 minutes on these three a day, your balance will get better and you take your window of opportunity from falling from here to here. I mean, really, that's what we're trying to do, right? Shrink that window of opportunity to fall. That's the point of balance. That's the point of everything that we do in there. Dynamic balance exercises. Some of you have done that with me in here, and I've seen them do it with you guys. We'll challenge you to a march. This wouldn't be as hard, right? But if we're telling you to stabilize on one, a tandem walk, those would be your dynamic balance exercises as opposed to a static exercise. So a lot of you do the latter. So, important. It is impossible to eliminate the risk of falling, but we can minimize the window of opportunity to fall. It is critical to make sure we are taking all measures possible to ensure your safety. One is exercising, but that could be something as small as being conscious of what you leave on your floor. Are you just leaving shoes in the middle of the floor, or do you have your phone cord draped across? Do you have an area rug that gets crumpled up right in front of the bathroom when you're trying to walk to the bathroom at nighttime? All of those things are as important as exercise is. Those other things are just important as well. So being aware of your surroundings in your condo and around the community. All right, how to fall. I get a lot of people like, well, that doesn't make sense. How can you teach me how to fall? And I understand that. When you are in the act of falling, you're not going to go, what did Anthony say again? And then just do that act and not fall. I do understand how silly this sounds. But if you have better balance, you fight that, you fight the fall. So I don't know if you've ever seen somebody stumble, but before they fall, many people will stumble a little bit first. It's very rare that you're going to see someone just stand and just fall over like a tree, right? So the better your balance is, the longer you are able to fight the act of falling, which should give you time to hopefully make that conscious decision to make yourself small. So if you're just going to fall tall, the impact is going to be greater, right? Like the taller we are, the longer the lever arm, it's going to be a harder fall. The impact is much wider. Where if you are stumbling and you electively choose to sit yourself down, you decrease the impact of the fall. Okay, so I had somebody in here, this is probably like 2 years ago. We were working in the back, and she was doing balance, and she started to stumble, and she stumbled like this, and luckily she eventually did hit the wall and was fine, didn't go to the floor. But in that act, let's say that I was up here and I was stumbling and go, if you just can electively choose to put yourself down and make yourself small, you shrink the impact. So that's just something that if you can kind of work through it in your brain now, maybe it could subconsciously happen for you. But really the last way you want to fall is backwards. So just protect the head and get small is really the best way to fall. And that you are more able to do that, the better balanced you are, because the longer you can fight the fall. Okay? Getting back up. This is the...
You're saying it's better to stop fighting the fall and just make yourself small?
If you were in a big room, probably, but do you want to do questions right now, or do you want to wait till the end?
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
What do you want to do?
Let's wait. Can you remember that one? Because I'll cover that with you. This is an important one. Getting back up. As you know, in this community, we're not allowed to pick you up off the floor, right? So if you know how to get up, we can probably shave off like 50% of 911 calls that happen here. Because a lot of times, they come, and you just say, thanks for getting me up. I don't need to go anywhere. I just need to sit in my chair and rest, right? Because they're allowed to help you up. Technically, as a Sunrise employee, we're not allowed to help you up because we're not qualified to assess your injuries. So it's really, I know most of you can do it. You guys work with a lot of the trainers. We've challenged most of you to do it. And if you haven't been challenged to do it, it's probably something that you should come down and try with us. We'll help you get down the right way and then get up the right way. But it's really important. So if you have fallen, there is a moment of shock. You just need to lie there. So I want to give you a little example. We had a situation in the gym yesterday where an individual fell. There was an initial level of shock and high commotion. So you want to make the situation a little less stressful. I got the individual a pillow, and I just cleared out the area so people weren't just staring at him, and we just rested for a second. I talked to him, and I said, "Are you hurt?" And he said, "No." I said, it was my client, so I knew that he had the ability to get up. I said, "All right, well, let's work at getting up." I brought the chair over, and I said, the first step is get to your hands and knees. So if you're on your back, you need to roll to your stomach. You need to prop up onto your hands and knees. Okay, just like this, right here. Now, if you can get to this situation, you've done most of the battle is already done. Now, I brought the chair over. By now, by the way, if you had a broken hip, you're not getting to this position. If you have a broken shoulder, you're not getting to this position. If you broke your back, your knee, you're not getting to this position. So it was already evident that nothing was broken. His head wasn't bleeding. So at this point, we knew everything was okay. Brought the chair over. When you go to get up, you have the chair. You need to put your strong leg up, okay? Strong leg up first. A lot of you do lunges with your trainers. That would be this position, right? Can you guys see? That would be this position here. This is the position you need to get in with your chair. Hands on the chair, and push up, and then turn and sit in the chair. So I know that was a lot of information. Roll to your belly, hands and knees, strong leg up, and stand up. I think everyone here probably needs to try to do that. If you're uncomfortable trying on your own, come down and try in the fitness center. Because I'm telling you, you could save a lot of unnecessary 911 calls if you can know how to do this. And some of you, if you have a friend that has fallen, you can coach them on how to do this. Once they have calmed down from the fall, hey, roll to your belly. Can you get on your hands and knees? Good job. All right, let's go strong leg up. You just stand behind them. You don't lift. You just give them balance support. They push up on their own and sit in the chair. So just something to think about. All right? I can print out a flyer at some point and have that information, maybe put it in your box, and you can have that somewhere in your condo. This is just it. So this is the flyer that I can put in all your boxes. All right? So I think it's important for all of you, like I said, to come down and talk to a trainer. This is not a sales pitch. This is just saying, I think it's important for everyone to need to be able to get up from the floor. Some might not be able to. And that's more incentive for you to come down and talk to a trainer, because that is such an important functional movement that you need to be able to do. And, we forget that as we go through life, and then we move into places like this, you probably find less reasons to ever have to get down on the floor. And so you probably don't realize that, I don't really know if I remember how to get up from the floor. I haven't done it in a couple months. So come down and see one of the trainers, and even if it just takes 2 minutes, hey, can you watch me while I get up from the floor? Sure, we'll 100% do that. So that's something that I think all of you should do. All right, realize that I'm rambling on like I said I was going to. Components of fitness, I'll run through these real quick. There's 5. All right, so your cardiovascular endurance, which would be your treadmill, your recumbent stepper, recumbent bike, maybe if you went for a jog or a long walk. Your muscular strength, which would be, some of you are doing kettlebell work, doing some of all the machines around the outside. Those would be your muscular strength. We have your muscular endurance. How long can your muscle last through a movement? Flexibility. A lot of you get stretched, and we ask you to stretch. And then your body composition, which is just the makeup in your body. We'll run through these real quick. Definition of cardiovascular endurance is the ability of the heart, lungs, and circulatory system to supply oxygen to working muscles during a physical activity. The importance of it is to improve your stamina, will allow you to go on longer walks, go shopping with your kids longer, or just anything like that. If you don't have endurance, you're going to struggle doing tasks like that. How to improve it? Engage in aerobic activity. 20 minutes of a sustained motion. So I know I've used that number before with some people in there. How long should I do it for? Technically it's 20 minutes, but if you can't do 20 minutes, then start with 5. Start with 10. If you struggle during 5 minutes, then 5 minutes is your baseline. That is a cardio workout, and you can grow from there. Muscular strength definition is the maximum amount of force muscles can exert in a single effort. Importance is supports functional movement and your ADLs, which would be your activities of daily living. Doing stairs, carrying laundry, putting the bed sheet on. Improves bone density and enhances metabolism. How to improve? Come and do muscle building exercises in the fitness center. Muscular endurance, the ability of muscles to perform repeated contractions over time without fatigue. This will play into what we talk about later on of, repetition range. Are you only going to do it for 4 reps, or are we going to go for 20 today? Essential for sustained effort like hiking and rowing. How to improve? Use lighter weights with a higher rep. Flexibility is the range of motion in a joint. Importance, reduce the risk of injury, improves posture, and enhances movement efficiency. It'll help your gait. It'll allow you to it can take your shuffling gait into a normal gait. How to improve? Perform dynamic stretching before workouts and static stretching post-workout. And body composition is the proportion of fat mass to lean mass in your body. Balanced body composition supports overall health, reduces risk of obesity, related diseases, and improves physical performance. And how to improve? Combine cardio, strength training, and a balanced diet. All right, well, that's all for myself.
Okay, that's me.
Going into
hello, testing, everybody. Okay, so why do muscles get sore? And before I answer that, I just want to talk quickly about what we're trying to achieve when we go through resistance exercise. And what's happening is you're trying to create muscular damage. There's microscopic tears, and damage is a good term in this sense. You're creating the damage, and in the repair process, the muscle is growing denser and stronger and more resilient, and it helps prevent injury, and it'll help even with all the balance stuff that Anthony was talking about earlier. And sometimes going through resistance training, you might feel your body get sore, and it doesn't happen right after the exercise. It often happens the next day. So we'll get clients coming into us and they'll think they're injured or something, and oftentimes it's just delayed onset muscle soreness. It usually happens about 24 hours after exercise. It usually peaks at about 48 hours, and then it starts to get better. And generally, it is not a reason for concern. It is a pretty normal response to exercise. We're not necessarily trying to get you sore, but if you get sore, it's no reason to feel alarmed. And it is important to realize the distinction between an injury and muscle soreness, because if you come up and say you're injured, we might change our routine, or we might divert from the program we had you doing, but really you just wait for 2-3 days, you'll feel all better, and actually you're probably stronger than you were beforehand. Anyway, during the exercise, what causes the delayed onset muscle soreness is the eccentric portion of the exercise. And I'll go more into that in the next slide, but basically every exercise you do, there is a concentric portion and an eccentric portion, and the eccentric portion is more responsible for that soreness feeling. The symptoms of the soreness, you might get some tenderness, stiffness, reduced strength, decreased range of motion. All this is temporary, and it can be mitigated if you go through the right recovery steps. So you can, active recovery, meaning don't just be sedentary the next day or two. Try to get up, get moving. That's going to help your bodies heal, get more blood flow to the tissues to help that process. You can go through massages or stretch. You might see one of these guys doing foam rolling on the ground and sitting and doing those things, and that's just going to help release tension in the muscles. Nutrition, so there's protein helps with the recovery. That kind of dives into the scope of practice that we're not professionals in, nutrition and dietary stuff, but most of us are pretty knowledgeable about it if you ever catch us and want to ask about that. Okay, tempo variations. So back again to eccentric and concentric contractions. Just to give an example, when I'm doing a bicep curl, most people think the way up is when you're building muscle, but actually it's the way down. When the muscle's lengthening, you want to really exaggerate that part. That's creating muscular damage that leads to building lean, dense muscle tissue. Okay, and time under tension is just what I was talking about. You want to exaggerate that part. Sometimes we'll see people do an exercise on the machines and they're going really fast because they think it's benefiting them. But generally we want to slow it down. There is some nuance to that. Sometimes you want to do fast exercise. Like some of my clients will have you guys do a kettlebell swing and you'll see me moving really fast. So it's not very slow and controlled. And that's because we're trying to work on something different, something called your fast twitch muscle fibers. And I'm sure you guys have noticed as you age, your body is struggling to keep lean muscle tissue. Sarcopenia is the age-related loss of muscle tissue. As you get older, your body's working multiple times harder than ours to try to maintain that same level of muscle mass. And research has shown that fast twitch muscle fibers decline a lot in the elderly. So to fight that decline, you train exercises a little bit faster pace. So you might have seen Emily Reynolds do a jump squat or a box jump. That's an example of something fast twitch. Or like a sprinter versus a marathon runner. Okay. All right, next up, that's all from me.
Test. All right. So, arthritis. Who here is dealing with a form of arthritis? Everyone should raise their hand, including me, myself, because I lift heavy weights, and at some point I'm going to deal with that. So, eventually, what happens is that arthritis comes to where the body's soft tissue starts to break down slowly, and then the bone on bone start to happen, so that becomes a discomfort. But, no one has told you, hey, you should do some stretching, you should do recovery. Everyone in the world knows how to work out. Some don't, but in terms of technique-wise, play, no one does the recovery side. Nowadays, more research, present time, recovery is considered important because as you work hard, you got to recover hard too. So Arthritis is in the hands, wrists, knees, hips, feet and ankles, spine, shoulder, elbow, practically everywhere. And it's a tough situation because you're dealing with it in a day-to-day, but the best way to deal with arthritis is actually to stretch out that muscle for you, because I even preach that to my clients that I train. Hey, you got to move. You're doing walking club with Emily, who's trying to kill everyone in the walking club. And then from there, they feel soreness the next day. The way to do that, to help lessen that soreness and to survive Emily's walking class, is definitely stretch out. If you don't know how, you can definitely stop by the gym and we can discuss that with one of our fabulous coaches here. So we have different types of arthritis. There's 7 different types, but osteoarthritis is wear and tear, as mentioned. Over time, the cartilage that's nice and soft to help cushion the bones from each joint starts to slowly break down and then causes bone-on-bone fraction. So that can be genetic, but also trauma or overuse. Yes, trauma is something that actually affects the body in a way that it makes it where it forms rheumatoid arthritis, which is an attack in the autoimmune system, and then it causes that attack on the bones. And that's not good, because that's the part where we have to be able to express ourselves, even if we feel like we're bottling up. But at some point, our body will overflow too much, and then that's kind of like the signal, like the check engine in your car. Hey, something's not right, and then the little pains start to happen in your body. So you definitely should be able to express that emotion to at least avoid having the 7 different forms of arthritis, because that's important. Because if we look at the holistic side of things, that's one of them. Because how you get arthritis? Well, from not being active, tight muscles, because we all are sitting. You are sitting. So definitely you're going to have to move around at some point to walk. But definitely the emotion side is something that you need to be able to release, because if you don't, then you're going to have these arthritis, and you don't want that. And then inflammation, and it becomes uncomfortable to move. So something to be aware of: release the emotion, stretch out. You should be able to take care of that, so it won't be too much with that. So this is pretty much breaking down the cartilage, inflammation, and the bone growth, and of course, rheumatoid arthritis. And you see that in the picture here. I know it's small, but once you get the slide, you can see how it starts attacking, how osteoarthritis attacks the bone, and then how rheumatoid arthritis starts attacking that. And that's not great. So one of the things is, please stretch out. That's what's going to help. And if you don't know, please come by to the gym. So exercise for arthritis: low impact exercises, which is walking, swimming, cycling. Joint friendly for strength training for sure, body weight, resistance bands, machines, and free weights. Flexibility and balance, which is yoga and Tai Chi. Yes, Tai Chi does help with combating the arthritis, so that's something to take into consideration if you're not a fan of stretching, but definitely doing some slow, gentle movement of Tai Chi is like a little bit dynamic, can help you with that. And of course, consistency and discipline is more important than intensity, because stretching, it can be intense, but we're just trying to make sure that you can just include it in a slow, rhythmic way, and that can help out with that. So to lead that, stretching for your health joints, it's important. There's 2 ways. There's dynamic stretching and static stretching. Dynamic, it can be done before the workout, which is, just doing some Frankenstein walks. If you have issue with balance, you can just bring up the knee and march and tap, just to help with neuromuscular, in your body and the system. And then that will help to improve the patterns that we'll do that day. All of us do that for each individual differently, for each of our clients, depending on the level of fitness that they are. And that can help definitely to make sure the movements that we do that day can be much easier. Static stretching is kind of like after, where, you get your reward of lay on the bed, nice pillow, towel, and then we stretch you out. We do the work for you at that point, but it's good to practice on how to feel that, because static stretching is something that I've come across with other clients that I've trained over the years, that they don't know what they're supposed to feel, and that's hard because you can get into the position. I can show you, I can feel the stretch, but probably, he or she cannot know what to feel, what they're supposed to. So that's where I like to say that stretching is exploration. You have to position yourself and adjust to the stretch at how it needs it to be, so that way you feel the benefit of the static stretch for yourself. And of course, recovery tools, foam rolling, trigger point, massage. I forgot to add dry needling, and the other in the family of dry needling, acupuncture, there we go. Foam rolling is really good if you can feel comfortable going onto the floor and getting up. That's where Anthony said, like, it's good and important to know how to get down on the floor and how to get back up. Foam rolling, it helps with, improving the blood circulation in the body. It's kind of like if you go on the treadmill or an elliptical or a bike, warm it up, the body, so that way it gets blood flow going. Same thing for the foam rolling, but it's a different, where like a massage for your body. So if you're able to do that, that will help with your recovery umbrella that you have for yourself. Trigger point is more of like localized areas in the body that can help you with that. So it goes into specifics. So if everyone has felt some tightness in the hip flexors, then you probably have seen me like get the massage stick or get a hard lacrosse ball to help roll out that. And that is more of like pinpointing that part of the muscle to help relieve that stress. So foam rolling is the toothbrush for the body, and the trigger point is the dental floss for the body. And of course, massage, which we have a spa, can get a full body massage and go from there. And of course, bone density and sarcopenia. As Min mentioned, that, strength training is important because it's going to help combat sarcopenia. When we're 30, it slowly starts to decline. When we're 60, it goes a drastic downward slope like a roller coaster. And the reason why we do strength training for all of you is to make sure that we can help maintain the muscle mass that you have, or not to decrease less of what you have already. So it's important that we do the strength training. Yes, it sucks that the next day you feel sore, but it helps you to know that you're doing something to actually prolong your life and to actually feel much stronger to do the day-to-day things, because you don't want to be in the situation that you can't get off the chair like you used to, or you can't get out of it, or you hit the floor and you're like, how can I get up? That's not good. We want to make sure that we get you stronger, so that way we can avoid sarcopenia. We can avoid, that bone density to decline, because we're not getting younger. We're not in high school anymore. We wish we are in terms of physical fitness, but, we just got to adapt to what's going on at that moment in time. So definitely sarcopenia, age-related muscle mass strength. So like I said, once you're 30, slowly decline. I'm 34, and I know that I'm slowly declining it, but I'm doing strength training to help myself with that. But once you get to age 60, things start to change for sure. But everyone has mentioned before, once you're 50, slowly you start slowing down. But I know for a fact, if you continue on strength training from here on out, you can avoid those issues that you're dealing with for sure. Why should we weight train? Well, combat sarcopenia, bone density loss, joint instability, and poor posture and balance. The benefits: stronger muscles and bones, better joint support, improved metabolic health, and enhanced quality of life and independence. Everyone wants to be independent, right? They want to be able to go to the restroom without feeling that you're scared to go and falling. We don't want that. So we want you to feel strong and confident. That's why strength training helps build the confidence to do what you can do each day. Summaries and takeaways: arthritis affects joint function, but movement helps. So if you're dealing with arthritis and we do a movement, we try to maneuver to, go to a different exercise, or to, make it that you can feel the same effects with that muscle group. Stretching and recovery are key to flexibility and pain management. Weight training is crucial for combating age-related decline. And start small and stay consistent and stay disciplined and stay strong.
Tough acts to follow, guys. All right, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Josh. I'll be going over the next few slides with you all. I want to start by talking about programming. Does anyone want to take a gander on why they think that's important? No? consistency, right? Setting up goals and milestones and things like that. Programming provides structure to help you achieve your goals by prioritizing and balancing workouts and recovery, right? Recovery is just as important as the workout itself, maybe I'd argue to say maybe a little bit more. A well-planned approach provides objective, measurable milestones, right, to ensure progression through the gym and through life. So with programming and exercises in the gym, there are different types such as compound and isolation movements. Compound movements are multi-jointed exercises that recruit a lot of different, muscles, whereas isolation movements kind of target specific muscles. So, example would be a sit to stand, which everyone's done at some point in their life, right? And versus like a bicep curl, right? So the sit to stands, you're using multiple muscles in the legs, the glutes, hamstrings, core, things like that. Whereas, the bicep curl, it's more so targeting the bicep itself. There's also something called the priority principle, which is just trying to, perform the more taxing exercises first when you have more energy, at the beginning of your workout, and then move to, less demanding movements towards the end. So, the sit to stand would be more, taxing as opposed to the bicep curl. Okay. So what exercises should you add? So I kind of go into something we call primal movements, and those are just kind of exercises, fundamental movements that we perform instinctively. They're multi-jointed, which we just spoke about, and really build a strong foundation to any program. Okay, so those primal movements can be categorized into a pushing motion, right, which would be your push-up, chest press, maybe a dumbbell press. You have a pulling motion, right, which could be a row machine, maybe a TRX row, something of that nature. And then you have something like a squat, right, like the sit to stand we just spoke about. So this is my good friend Bob here. Can anyone take a guess at what Bob's doing incorrectly? Bend his knees, right? Because he's putting a lot of, if this was a heavy package, which we're assuming it is, he's putting a lot of that weight on his lower back, right? Which would be the incorrect way to pick this box up, okay? And he really needs to incorporate what's called a hip hinge, okay? So this is very important, something that we all kind of go over. It's the ability to push your hips back, right? Keeping your spine and pelvis neutral and transferring the resistance to your posterior chain, like your glutes and hamstrings. Okay, so I have this little picture up here, but everyone can see me, so kind of just reiterating that, right? So this would be the incorrect way if you were picking something up or trying to perform something off of the floor, right? Because my back is rounded, right? So we really want to kind of try and push our hips back so that we can keep our back a lot straighter and our spine neutral. Does that make sense? So the hip hinge, again, fundamental movement pattern used to perform essential daily tasks such as bending over and picking things up. So something that can be transferred to other activities outside of the gym, which is very important. It's also prevalent in various strength movements such as the squat, the deadlift, the sit to stand that we spoke about before. That first initial movement would be pushing your hips back, right? Because if you didn't, you'd be kind of going down like this, right? Putting a lot of pressure on your knees. Okay, so we really want to master being able to keep our spine and our pelvis neutral when we're doing things like a deadlift, sit to stand, etc. He's happy, right? So kind of just briefly talking about your core. So the core is your central part of the human body that includes muscles, groups of muscles stabilizing your spine and pelvis. Okay. Why is it important? Core training is essential for maintaining overall health and well-being. Having a strong core will mitigate injuries and back pain while improving posture, balance, and coordination. So some examples of core exercises that you could try. So this is what's called a dead bug. I don't know if anyone is, yeah. This is called a dead bug. You could do it on your back. Basically, what he's doing is he's initiating his core movements, which I'll speak about here shortly, and he's bringing the opposite arm and opposite leg back straight out, returning to the center, which would be knees up and then hands straight up, and then repeating with the other side. Okay. You could also do single leg lifts or double leg lifts lying down. So that's just simply, raising your leg up to what's comfortable. Try to aim for about 90 degrees. Okay. Locked up on me. Yeah, I had a few. I didn't push anything. Intermission. I had the bracing slide, and then which I wanted to demonstrate real quick, and then I had like I had two more slides. All right. All right, so just picking up where we left off, those were leg lifts. And then another thing you can do, which is very common, which is called the glute bridge, right? The glute bridge is, lying on your back, pushing your hips up to the ceiling and squeezing your glutes at the top. I chose this image because it's a little off. In other words, it looks like she's hyperextending her back and not bracing her core, which is what I want to briefly kind of discuss now and why that's important. So, bracing your core, if you've ever heard that, one of us talk about that, it's the ability to activate and stabilize the muscles around your spine, your abdomen, to create a rigid midsection. Okay, so you really want to focus on your breathing into your stomach, right? Like deep belly breathing into your diaphragm, and then squeezing or flexing your abs, right? Abdominal muscles. Hopefully no one's ever been punched in the stomach before, but you would kind of, if someone was to do that, you would kind of tense up, right? And that's kind of the same element that we want to kind of bring to bracing itself and in kind of various exercises, right? Yeah, so you would kind of flex or tense up. That's kind of what we want to bring, to the gym and to certain exercises. So something that I kind of teach people is in something, you don't necessarily have to use a weight, but I just brought like this little 1-pound dumbbell. I don't know if everyone can see me here, but one way that you can kind of practice that is if you just lay a weight or you simply your hands on your stomach, you can kind of breathe into your belly button, right? And then you want to kind of squeeze, right? So you can, this just provides more feedback, I think, and it's just kind of easier for people to see. But essentially, you want to just take a big breath into your stomach, right? And then kind of squeeze and hold. And that would be what's called bracing, right? And in that glute bridge, you kind of want to do, it's kind of a two-part movement, right? You want to, just coming on. Thank you, bro. So you want to kind of breathe into your stomach, right? Kind of lock that down, and then you want to push your hips up and then squeeze your glutes at the top. So two parts here, right? Tight stomach, tight core, and then also squeeze the glutes. If that makes sense. All right, so a bonus tip. I'm telling you guys all my secrets here. So it's try and squeeze and stretch the muscles that you're working out. Building a strong mind-muscle connection is extremely important to really furthering your progress and also preventing injury. Okay, so let me go back here. quick example would be, like the bicep curl. Instead of just kind of going through the motion and just kind of going up and down, if you, consciously think about what muscle you're working, you can kind of activate that a little bit better, right? So at the top, if I'm thinking about squeezing my bicep, I'm going to get more out of that rather than just kind of lifting it up and down. Does that make sense? That's it. Questions?
All right. So, one, I didn't know that gout was a form of arthritis, so I learned something new today. I didn't know that. So, in short, I know that was a lot of information, and we just talked for 50 minutes. So, please, if you have any questions, I'm going to send the slides to Dr. Forty. The slides can be printed out for you if you want it. I want to get you some sort of information on how to get up. But again, if there was anything particularly interesting to you in here, like I said, I will send all of the slides to Dr. Forty so she can have those. Was there any questions? I know, Jane, let's start with yours because you had one. I think you were asking me if you're in the act of falling, should you just electively go down? It's really.
Wait for the mic.
Do you want to ask it? Yeah. You want to
No,
ask?
you asked it fine.
Okay. I think that, to answer that question, if I was in a big room like this, I'm probably not going to be able to stumble all the way to the wall. So in that situation, you should electively sit yourself down. Now, if you're in the gym and you're right by that wall and you can stumble and get to the wall, perfect. That, then you've stumbled there. And just so you know, if your doctor asked, have you fallen lately? That would qualify as a fall. So just to keep that in mind, just so you can give your doctor an honest answer to his question, if your act of going to the ground was broken by the wall, an object, or a person, that still qualifies as a fall. So to help you better answer that question to your doctor, the answer would be, if that happened on Thursday, I had a near fall Thursday. But yeah, so yeah.
I had one more
Sure.
question, actually, and that is, you're saying to people, come on in, and if they don't mind getting on the floor, you'll help them, you'll teach them how to get up.
Yes.
Do you do that with your clients?
I do that. Most of my clients have been challenged on how to get up and down. Now, do we do it every session? No, but I have challenged most of them, if not all of them. If I am not confident that they can do it, I'm probably not going to challenge them right away. But all of my clients that I know can have gotten up and down from the floor.
Anybody else?
Cheryl, I'll remember you in a second. I think the mic's going back here. Did you have a question? Yeah? Sure.
One of the things that seems to be typical as we age are muscle spasms in your legs. How do you treat them? What do you do? Do you have any suggestions?
I think finding the cause of why the muscle spasms are happening, for one. If they are chronic and giving you extreme weakness, probably talking to the doctor first. But, just to piggyback on that, I have a lot of clients like, well, I get cramps all the time. A quick fix is up your hydration. For whatever amount of water any of you think that you drink, you're not drinking enough. So to put it simply there, but it could mean that you need to stretch a little bit more. It could mean that there's an issue at your back. It's really hard to say, but definitely speaking to someone who can assess you properly is the way to go. I think she still has the mic back here for this one, and then we'll.
Are you still endorsing your 970 workouts? Because that helps flexibility
Yes.
and muscle.
Please tune in to Channel 970 Monday through Sunday at 9 o'clock in the morning. Yes.
A question for Josh. The leg stretching exercises. I notice that you have one leg on the surface and you're raising the other leg. I was doing that for a while, but Mitali told me that I should bend the other leg in order to prevent lower back pain.
Yeah, so the single leg lift that I was showing was more of an abdominal exercise. And you can I would recommend that you guys bend the other leg because that takes a lot of pressure off of your low back. That was just the image that I found off of Google. I mean, you can have both legs straight and then lift one leg up at a time, but I would say most of the time I would bend the other knee just to take pressure off that back. Absolutely. Yeah.
But I think there's also two different exercises. So he was referring to the core, which is when you're on your back, like you could do a straight leg flutter kick, which is probably more what that was doing. I think what you're working on with Mitali is actually probably something to help your knee, and you're doing like a straight leg lift. So they're actually two different exercises. So what this individual was targeting up here was actually an exercise for their core. So like, it would look more like this. Like this is probably what that individual was doing, where you are doing an exercise that's targeting your quad. So I think Mitali just has you working on something else than what Josh was showing.
Which one is for your core?
The one that he was doing with a straight leg. But that's a very progressive exercise. There's ones that you should do before you jump to that.
Okay.
Okay, grab a fistful of cashew nuts. Has a high volume, a high percentage of magnesium. And I found that has helped me a lot. Has anybody tried that? Cashew nuts.
Tell them, help what?
Helps you, with spasm.
Yes.
Thank you. Helps with what?
Thanks.
Okay, helps with spasm.
Okay, I think we got two questions over here.
I get Charlie horses. I wake up with them at night if I don't.
Hold up. We just questions over here real quick.
I wake up with Charlie horses if I do not use magnesium oil on my calves. My doctor recommended that. You can get it from Amazon. But my question has to do with, we talked about this once, Anthony. I recommended everybody here get an evaluation from the trainers. I don't know how you do payment for that because it wouldn't be signing up for a whole series necessarily, but just the help you gave me in how to walk correctly is so helpful. And you and I both know everybody here needs that.
Yes. Well, if you're new, you can come down for a free orientation. If you are not new, you can still come down for a very quick talk, but also sessions can be purchased individually as well. You don't have to buy a full package. Yes.
First of all, I have to say I thought that was a very good program and show, yes. What I'm wondering is, we don't come down for sessions anymore, which we used to. We take the classes. Are we missing out something by not doing the session with one of you?
I don't think, I think that in a group class, you're getting a generalized routine. If you come down for a one-on-one, you're getting a specific routine that was designed for you. I would not say you're per se missing out on something, but let's say you identify something that your body really needs, like, I'm having a ton of pain in my shoulder, or I need more mobility in my shoulder, then you probably should come in for an individualized session, because in a group class, when Chara's working with you, she doesn't, by the time she corrects every single person's individual issue, the first person's
That's
probably
right.
done 50 reps by now.
That's right.
So, if you would need general, or, specific touch to you, then yeah, come down. But I think the classes are awesome. They're great classes. They're a great way to get a generalized fitness routine and be with others.
I'm just wondering if we should start getting down on the floor, though. We don't do that, and most of us have said no. But after seeing the presentation, I'm wondering if it would be better for us to get down on the floor once in a while in the classes.
Well, if you remember when I used to teach the classes, we were down on the floor every class.
But we've aged since then.
Well, You can still get down on the floor. I'll talk to Charo about that.
Any other questions?
I'd like some information about relaxation. I didn't understand how you relax after exercise.
Take a nap. No, I'm kidding. You mean like cooling down?
There's a section on relaxation. Somebody talked about that. What do you mean by relaxation?
Test. So what I mean by relaxation is that since you work out with Anthony a lot and you do your own physical activity, it's great, but you need to cool down and be able to relax because the mind starts to keep going at a constant pace of saying, hey, we're still working out, when probably you're just sitting down reading a book, but the mind thinks that the body's still going. So it's important to have that cool down and to stretch out so that way you don't have like that constant tension, even though you're doing something else differently instead of just like feeling that you're working out, but you're not working out because the mind thinks that it keeps on going, but you just need to have it to relax. And that's the hard part because people do the warm-up, the workout, but not that many people do the post relaxation, the post stretch. So that's why we do like, the manual like stretching to help calm down the mind body connection. But also, if you're still feeling, I'm working out, but I'm not, then you can do some breathing exercises or meditation to help you with that, or just something to help calm you down instead of thinking, all right, I'm still on the go. I got to keep doing that.
So stretching is part of it. Stretching is part of it.
Walter,
Stretching
we do
is part of it.
You know how we end every session, the last 10 minutes with, I actually cover a lot of what Carlos did with you specifically. We run the massage gun, and then we do the static stretching. So we do what he is talking about on that relaxation side, that cool down.
I find that a good either hot or cold shower does the most good after you've worked out with.
After we stretch
After you can afford it.
Meditation. It's 5 o'clock every week. There's a class in meditation. It's very good for you. We all have monkey minds. Jump, jump, jump. And to be able just to calm your mind and to be able to sit, breathe, learn how to breathe. Breathe in, breathe out, and different exercises.
Good. Thank you.
Very helpful.
Any more questions? If you don't think of it now or you don't want to ask it now, you know where we are. We're in there all day long. So please come in and ask. So, like I said, there's so many familiar faces. It looks like just about all of you use us in some capacity, but please attend the classes. Another good one is the Parkinson's class. That's not just a Parkinson's class. It is amazing chair exercise. You will be tired and you'll be taxed out taking it. So I would encourage, if you feel I'm not comfortable standing through a whole routine, I would encourage you to try that class, and I think you would be pleasantly surprised at how challenged you are. And like I said, we have the classes Monday through Friday. We have all of the televised classes, and then the 4 of us are in the gym ready to help out in any way we can. All right, so